I do have some responses here. So I'm so glad that Councilman Graham's excited about this budget, and I think it's pretty darn good too. And I think Councilman Quasman coined the, police, parks, and potholes as the priorities. And let me tell you, those have been the priorities of this city for 50 years, and I'm glad they're still the priorities today. It's one thing to have good priorities. It's another thing to have the money to pay to deliver on those priorities. And that's where the last council comes in. In fact, the last 10 years of councils come in. And I think it's important to review it just to make some corrections. In my 6 years, and there was plenty of progress before that, we paid down the police pension $60 million. Okay, so that's where we are. And we built up a reserve of $120 million. So buckaroos we have today, yeah, you can thank the last couple councils for that. As well, we were able to reduce tax rates. So let's talk about those priorities. I am very pleased that we have such good support for our police community, and police and council have always been aligned. We began the process in 2021 of getting the police pay up to the second and third position, and we're continuing and we're setting up a policy so that we don't fall behind again. That's something that was done by the last council as well as this council. So I'm glad we're consistent on that. Then on top of that, as I mentioned, it's not just police. If we have the greatest police but we don't have transportation engineers, it's not going to be a very good city. So last year, for the first time, we also did the comp study and made sure that all of our staff members were paid fairly. I also want to point out that let's talk about not just the personnel issues, let's talk about the equipment that our police and fire and other staff members have. Let's talk about the infrastructure. Like the mayor just spoke at the first graduating class of our fire training facility. Where the heck did that fire training facility come from? Let me tell you. It came from the 2019 bond approvals, voter-approved bonds. First time in 19 years the voters approved all the bond questions. Councilwoman Kathy Littlefield and myself, we were very involved in developing those bond questions. Mayor Lane was the mayor, and we had 70% approval by the residents. So that's where we're getting a lot of the infrastructure, and that includes solar panels that are now over the parking structure at our police facility on Via Linda, which protects, not only is it more pleasant for our police officers, but it protects the money, the tax dollars that we spend on police cars and all the expensive equipment in those cars. So these bonds are very extensive in making us more efficient with your dollars today. What about parks? Because that is certainly a priority of my own. So we've had, again, 50 years of residents going to the ballot box, voting to raise taxes, not only to protect parks, but open space generally, and that's how we ended up with a 30,000-acre McDowell-Sonoran preserve. But most recently, last year, in fact, this budget would not be possible without the efforts of three of my colleagues to make sure that our voters had the opportunity to keep our parks to the highest level possible and to add police officers in our parks and to protect our McDowell-Sonoran Preserve from wildfires. So where did that funding come from? It came from 4 members of the council, myself, Mayor Ortega, Council members Tom Durham, and Councilwoman Betty Janik. So we've spent 2 years working with our community, put Prop 490, Prop 491 on the ballot, and I got good news. Despite a misinformation campaign, the voters approved those 2 propositions in every single precinct. So this budget this year is very good. It would not be possible without the efforts of last year's council and the voters who sided with them. So I want to talk about potholes too. Okay, what's missing in this budget? Well, $31 million of federal guaranteed dollars. We went ahead and forfeited that, but I credit our charter officers for making the best of that. We will likely get some of that back, but every federal dollar that we forfeit and then have to substitute with a local dollar, that's a pothole that doesn't get filled. So because we're in such good financial shape, and because I do think our staff has the ability to apply and get additional grant money, we're not going to cover the cost of that $31 million, we're just not. But I think we will get our roads up to standard. And my biggest concern is that the problem, this falling off of a cliff of our road pavement condition, that happened in 2016. Decisions were made long before any of us were on the council to use a thinner product on our roads to put pretty over public safety and put pretty over long-lasting tax-saving treatments. And so I'll be darn careful to not let that happen again. We are dealing with road conditions that were worsened by decisions made in 2016, but we're going to get it right this time. So I am excited about this budget too. It has a lot of things like that sidewalk. Thank you for your efforts on that sidewalk. I am supporting the budget, but city governments are team sports. We can only be as good as the councils that preceded us. And I'm glad to be on this one, and I was glad to be on the last one. Thank you.